Aloha! Please kokua and help us reach new viewers by subscribing to our HUOA YouTube page. Look for the red subscribe button on the bottom right. It's free. Your subscription supports our mission to share Uchinanchu Aloha around the world. Also, don't forget to give our videos a thumbs up. Mahalo and yuta surugutu urige sabira.
The Hawaii United Okinawa Association's virtual Okinawan Festival is made possible thanks to donations from viewers like you. Mahalo and ippe nihei debiru.
Minasan, haisai gusuyo. If you don't know who I am, you need to go back and watch some of our previous videos. It's your favorite Bon Dance host. My name is Jessica Yamamoto. Nice to see you all virtually. It's been a while. I might have seen some of you at Bon Dance this year. But if not, welcome. Yoroshiku onegai shimasu. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for being here tonight. I'm so excited to be your host for Yuntaku. I think this is my first time actually, so cut me some slack. I'm a little nervous, but it's okay. We're going to have a fun time tonight. First things first, thank you so much to everybody who has come out to support us in the last couple of weeks. Before we get into the oh so delicious I wouldn't say nonsense, but all the craziness that has happened this past week with all of our local restaurants and businesses. We also just want to say thank you so much for coming out to festival and Ara Matsuri, Aki Matsuri. It's been a blast. It's been a crazy last couple of weeks, but we made it and we couldn't have done it without your support. Before we keep going, stay connected with us. Please use our comments features. We love to see where you're from, where you're tuning in from. I think Jason says hi Sai from San Jose. Jano Shiro said Kaneohe in the house. What's up? And yeah, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, it's really easy to do so. There's a little red button right below that says subscribe. Like this video, share it with your friends, share it with the world if you can. Help us to continue our mission of sharing Uchinanchu Aloha with everyone. And without further ado, I think what everybody is here for, my wonderful co-host for the evening, Sherry Tamashiro, will be talking more about Okinawan eats, Okinawan businesses, Okinawan restaurants. And I'm a huge foodie. I love food, and I don't think I've ever met anyone that loves food more than I do, but I think Sherry is a good, close competitor. Welcome, Sherry.
Hi, thanks for having me. I feel like I need to be in a competition with you now to see who loves food more. I totally think that will work.
Oh, yeah. And before I forget, also, for those of you that are joining us for Taikai, don't forget that you can now order your shirts online. So it's that bright chartreuse color. So everybody will be able to see us when we're marching in the parade. It should be on screen, but it's a very bright green color. Everyone will be able to see us as we share Uchinanchu Aloha during the Taikai parade. I believe it's $20 for t-shirts, and you can go to shophua.org. And okay, sorry. Also, you can also order from your Taikai groups. So order directly these shirts from your Taikai groups. And it's a safety green, so we're all about being safe, right? Some other reminders upcoming. We have Winter Craft Fair November 26th and 27th at Hawaii Okinawan Center. We hope you can join us. A lot of local vendors, lots of cool stuff. Get your Christmas shopping done early, and support us and shop with us. We hope to see you there. shop at Foodland and you can make a donation to HUOA. I believe our code number when you check out is 78441. So any donations you can make when you shop at Foodland, don't forget to use that number 78441. Now through September 30th. So you only have a couple more weeks to do so. And without further ado, sorry, I was a little early. I was really excited to bring Sherry on because I'm so hungry. It's about 7 o'clock. I didn't eat yet, and all I want to do is just talk about food. Without further ado, my fabulous co-host for the evening. I think she's more of a foodie than I am. Sherry Tamashiro, thank you so much for being here tonight. So excited to talk all about Okinawan Festival, Okinawan restaurants, Okinawan businesses. I don't even know where to start.
So historically, there have been over 350 restaurants in Hawaii that have been Okinawan owned, starting in 1923 with American Cafe. And, you know, it's thanks to the efforts of Gene Kaneshiro and Howard Takara that we know all the names of the 350 plus restaurants. Because they have been just amazing community archivists who have documented the history of all these restaurants. I think that without their work, people would say, do you think there was like 100 restaurants that were Okinawan owned? But because of their tireless effort for over a decade, we know it's over 350.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so they did an exhibit, and we did an exhibit at the Okinawan Festival, and people kept asking, who are the currently open Okinawan-owned restaurants? So I actually started compiling that list some years ago because I was curious as well. And what ended up happening is that list became really critical when the pandemic hit.
Right.
And we're really worried about restaurants closing. We already had a list of who was Okinawan-owned restaurants on Oahu and who was like a Okinawan food-related business. So that's like Aloha Tofu, Higa Meat, Tamashiro Market.
Right.
And we were able to quickly mobilize and help them when they needed help.
Yeah, super important. I mean, we always talk about how the Okinawan community here in Hawaii is so strong, and I can't even imagine how many people want to support local businesses as well. And just knowing that they're Okinawan owned or they offer some sort of Okinawan dish is even more important. And you're right, especially during the pandemic, it was nice to know how we can better support our community, you know, by supporting even smaller, you know, like the Hawaii Okinawa community as well.
I think what's interesting is a lot of the stories that Gene and Howard collected talk a lot about how all of these restaurants supported each other. If Columbia Inn needed beer on a Friday night, they could call Wisteria. And the answer wasn't just, yes, you can buy a case of Bud. It was, do you want me to bring it? If one restaurant needed a new head cook, one of the Okinawan restaurants would just offer their assistant cook because it was a great opportunity for them. There was no selfishness, and it was just all about helping each other. I think my favorite story is, so Times Grill became Times Supermarket. So the founder of Aloha Tofu was working at Times Grill as a cook. And then they trained him to be a butcher when they shifted over. So when he had the opportunity to buy Aloha Tofu factory or set it up, Times Supermarket was Aloha Tofu's first and most loyal customer. And as Times Supermarket grew, Aloha Tofu grew with them. And, you know, this story always blows me away. There was a fire that burned down the factory. And, you know, the grandfather decided, Paul Uehara's grandfather decided he'd give it another shot because he had equipment coming in from Japan. In the year it took to rebuild and set everything up again, their competitor, A'ala Tofu, let them use their factory after hours so Aloha Tofu could fill their orders and stay viable until the new factory was built. That is absolutely amazing, isn't it?
That is. It's always nice to hear, you know, our community supporting one another. And we were talking before this, and I think that that spirit is still alive and well today. And we can talk more about it eventually or later on in this segment. But just hearing about how businesses can collaborate as well is incredible. You know, I mean, Rainbow Drive-In is collaborating with Beer Lab in the next coming weeks, and just seeing how we can all support one another is always.
But I think for part of it is we as a community, you know, really looking out for and paying attention to our currently open Okinawan owned restaurants and food businesses.
Right.
And, in the spirit of Yuimaru, communities supporting one another, going out of our way to make sure that they can still make it out of this pandemic. Because, as mentioned in the preview, is that 8 restaurants have closed since last year's festival.
Right.
They're not out of the woods yet. And, we can't think, oh, everything's fine, back to normal. I think we still have to maybe go out of our way to be even more supportive to make sure they make it out of it.
Right, right. Just because festival is over, it doesn't mean that the support for Okinawan businesses, Okinawan restaurants, has to end. I think that support can continue throughout the year, and who knows, every day, maybe.
So there's a complete listing of all the currently open Okinawan restaurants and businesses at hawaiiokinawans.com, which I do in partnership with HOA. The list is not complete. I get a lot of people emailing me, so-and-so is Okinawan, but I can't add them to the list until that business confirms directly with me that they are Okinawan owned. In the past, I just, didn't check and got burned. So my new rule is I don't put them on the list unless they directly confirm with me. And some of them won't confirm, so they're not on the list. I just, but it's that kind of thing of, we have, I think, 45 Okinawan-owned restaurants right now on Oahu, and we have 11 food-related businesses, which you can see listed there. It is a very Oahu-centric list. I'm not familiar enough with the neighbor islands to be able to identify all the restaurants that are there. And I think that's a project maybe that Uchinanchu on each of those islands, if they want to take it on and join the project so they can, maybe take on the role of being like the gatekeeper, researcher, advocate for restaurants and businesses on their islands, that would be great.
Sure.
They can just send me a message through the site, and maybe we could beef this up so it's not just so Oahu-centric.
Good. I was just about to say, how can they get in touch with you? How can they get on this list? So sending you a message or an email would probably be the best bet. Cool. Yeah, so lots to go over. I mean, festival in itself.
So Okinawan Festival started in 2020. Like Like Drive-In, one of the big Okinawan-owned restaurants, abruptly closed. And it was kind of a shock.
Yes.
And, in the news, the owner said, well, they tried to shift to takeout, and it just didn't work out. And, Sunrise, Chokatsu, first day he had to switch to takeout, he told me in 6 hours he only had one takeout order. And he was absolutely terrified, rightly
Right.
so. I mean, like places like Hide-chan and Sunrise had no social media at the time. They had no way to communicate with their customers. They had no way to remind people, hey, we're here. And we need help.
Right, right.
So festival was kind of a way to draw attention because, frankly, if we as a community don't support these businesses, do takeout, do, just go there regularly, maybe buy gift certificates, and they close, that's on us because, they needed our help and we didn't give it. And, like when Like Like closed, a lot of people told me, oh, I love that place. This is so tragic. And, my
Right.
question was like, when was the last time you went? Oh,
Yeah.
years ago, but I love it. And that doesn't work, right?
Right.
That
right.
just is kind of like, well, it just doesn't make sense to me that we get so excited that Chick-fil-A is coming to Hawaii and there's lines down the road. And yet when it's a mainstay place like 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 Drive-In or Sunrise that, is local, family run, and such an
Small
institution
business,
within our
yeah.
community, it's almost like we have to consciously remind ourselves to keep going.
Right, right. I know it can be tough sometimes. Prices of things, are sometimes going up and it gets really expensive. But I think for myself especially, I like to keep in the back of my mind is that, my $20 for my sushi is going to support a family. It's going to send this kid to soccer camp or soccer practice. It's supporting our local community above all, right?
So one of the things I did on the hawaiiokinawans.com site was did a breakdown of who has Okinawan dishes. So I hear a lot from people saying, oh, I have no idea who sells Okinawan food. I have no idea what to buy or, what they have there. So there's no excuse. I did a breakdown. So at the top of it, you can see I did a breakdown of who provides andagi regularly around the island. And
So
I
you
think
can get your fix year round. You don't have to wait till Okinawan Festival. You don't have to wait till Akimatsuri to get your andagi. You can go year round.
and it's kind of surprising how many people offer andagi regularly, yeah?
Right, right, right. If you don't make it at home, I mean, where else are you gonna get it, right? Like the fake Okinawan, like myself. Okay. Okinawan at heart, excuse me. I should use the correct term. If I'm not gonna make it at home, where else am I gonna get my andagi fix, right?
You know what's ironic is that American Cafe in 1923, the owner, Ushi Takara, consciously made the decision not to have Okinawan or Japanese food because
Wow.
his thought was, why would you go out to dinner and pay for food you can cook at home? To him, going out to eat was like a special occasion, right?
Right,
So
right.
his early menus had lamb with mint jelly, steak
Wow.
with, lobster, and mock turtle soup, which I'm
Right.
kind of curious what that tastes like. But the irony is that today, the three big restaurants we had, Hide-chan, Utage, and Sunrise, focused on home-cooked meals.
Right.
Because I don't know how to make it.
Yep, people like
And
myself.
Heck,
don't
if
know
I'm
how to
going to
cook.
make pig feet soup at home, right?
Right,
But it's almost like we've lost the skills that grandma, grandpa had.
right.
And so now we want to go and pay for someone to cook this home cooking for us.
Yes, I will pay for anybody to make me some grandma's, obachans, good cooking. Hit me up in the DMs. I'll come to your restaurant and I'll pay for that myself.
So it's broken down into so you see utage, it's broken down to all the Okinawan dishes that they have there with a description.
Beautiful
So if you're
pictures.
unfamiliar with what the dish is, and it also indicates what's unique to that restaurant. So utage is the only one that does nabera, champuru. And then, I think they do kandaba jushi on Tuesdays. Sunrise is the only one that does yakisoba. And off menu, by the way, you should order Chokatsu's Mama's Champuru.
And if you're lucky, he'll give you a show as you're doing your takeout, right?
Right, with his soup spoon pick.
Right, right.
But, no excuse. There's a breakdown. I do have to update it a little bit because I just found out that Waikele Clubhouse has an Okinawan chef and they have a bunch of Okinawan dishes. But I will
Cool.
keep updating it as I learn about places. And if there is something that's missing, please message me and I'll go check it out.
Right. And
The-
this is a really extensive list. Like it
Pretty good,
probably
yeah.
took a lot of time and a lot of research visits, right? Research
Well, I
visits.
write articles for Frolic and Honolulu Magazine, so it's actually pulled from that research. And then the second group is the Okinawan-owned restaurants that don't necessarily sell any Okinawan food. And so there is a complete listing of all of those restaurants. And, I'd like to issue a challenge, to people like Courtney Takara and Renette Nakasone and Lynn Miyahira is, can you go to every single Okinawan-owned restaurant on the island? And, maybe we can have a title that comes with 8 at every single one.
I am the super Okinawan eater. I accept this challenge.
The one restaurant that everyone questions me a lot on is Kinwa
Oh.
in Kaneohe, because one of their owners is Okinawan, but everyone doubts me when I post
Right.
that.
Right, right.
It's my cousin, which is the only reason I know they're Okinawan.
So legitimacy there.
Yeah,
It's been vetted
legitimate.
and checked.
Yes, absolutely. But the thing too is, I think that Feastival is really fun because we were able to have restaurants maybe connect with their roots. So Okuhara food, so that's the Kamaboko factory. And by the way, Okuhara is different from Okahara. I have so many people telling me, oh, didn't they close?
Right.
So Okahara, Simon closed, but Okuhara, Kamaboko is still open. And what's really cool about Okuhara is that 3 siblings, 2 brothers and a sister, have taken over. And Lindsay is, I think, in her mid-30s, and her brothers are early 40s. And how cool is that they're making a go with continuing 3rd generation,
Right.
continuing the family business. But what was fun about their Feastival offering was that we were doing research about fish cake in Okinawa. And so I told them about bakudan, rice bombs. I think it comes from Itoman. So the fishermen had to come up with a dish that they could take on their fishing trips. So a flavored rice formed into a ball. So it could be jushi or salmon rice. They opted to do Okinawan taco rice. And then it's covered in fish cake in a ball. And they coated it in Doritos, which is kind of extra, yeah?
Right. That's where the taco comes in, right?
But the thing is that they brought it in, something that originated in Okinawa but is completely new for a lot of us here. And even their popcorn tempura fish cake bites is another inspiration from how they eat fish cake in Okinawa.
Yeah.
Which is really fun. And
Right.
so, like, even Zigu. So Zigu restaurant in Waikiki, their assistant manager is from Okinawa City, Mariko Higa. So she got really, really excited when she heard about Feastival and decided to bring Zigu into it. And so she even ordered the red and yellow chopsticks you see all over Okinawa.
Oh,
She brought
cool.
in this snow salt from Miyakojima Island.
Wow.
And the authenticity of their dishes are really good. So even like the koregusu, the Okinawan chili pepper awamori, she serves it in a dish with citrus. So she couldn't get shikwasa, so she used calamansi.
Next best thing.
Right. And it's so popular that Zigu is extending the Feastival specials even
Good.
longer, and a bunch of the dishes are going to make it onto their regular menu.
That's awesome to hear.
Yeah.
Really, our mission spreading Uchinanchu Aloha, and look at it, it's making its way onto some restaurants' menus to stay.
And what they're really good about is supporting Aloha Awamori, Randy Kuba's Awamori,
Good.
and Aloha Tofus. They're using the tofu in their champuru, and they're using sun noodle in their soba. And, I also like that we had jimami tofu, peanut tofu from Aloha Tofu, where Paul just made it available for a week. That Chef Roy was cooking his mother's dish, carrot shiri shiri, with pork belly. And we had like Hank Arania from Hank's Hot Dogs making his spam andagi pop with the honey
Ooh.
mustard mayo dip.
Right.
And I don't know if people know, but Hank is a second generation Okinawan owner. His parents ran a concession stand over by the natatorium, and they sold thousands of hot dogs a week. And so he opened up Hank's Hot Dog as a tribute to his parents, which is really
Aw.
cool, yeah?
Really touching.
Right.
And I mean, I think kind of going back to like your Okuhara story, it's nice to see these next generation of Uchinanchu or Hawaii Uchinanchus kind of paying tribute or kind of coming back to their roots to figure out how they can, still stay connected.
And I love that Nick from Beer Lab went over to Okuhara to introduce himself and like get a tour to find out what they did, and he utilized their fish cake in their soba dish.
Right.
And so I think partnerships would be really awesome for like future festival endeavors. But the surprising stuff that happened in festival was actually with two Okinawan at heart businesses that were invited. So Chef Keaka Lee from Kapahale in Kahala, he decided to make andagi, Ghee.
Right.
So clarified butter. So andagi cooked in clarified butter. So years ago he had tried like a Indian donut, and he always wanted to kind of try that flavor with a Hawaii donut. And so the timing was perfect. And
Right.
so next year he said he wants to do anda dasi, where he does his andagi with seafood, which I'm
Okay,
kind
I'll
of
hold
intrigued
that to you,
by.
chef. Yeah.
But I
I will-
love that Derek Fujio bought the andagi from Kapahale, then immediately went over to McDonald's to get the sundae so he could make his donut a la mode.
Ooh, that's not a bad idea too. It's always fun to hear how everyone gets creative with their festival dishes too. I mean, with that being said, we don't like to play favorites, but did you have a dish or restaurant that you really like dining at the most?
Well, I
this
gotta
time
say,
around?
Bakudan was just lovely. I would eat bakudan again and again if it was available. It's very, very labor intensive, so I don't know how often they're gonna offer it. So if they do, don't like dawdle and kind of sit around and go eat there.
Yes, because I beat myself up for it. I had major FOMO, fear of missing out. I beat myself up when I saw everyone's pictures, everyone in line, and your video. Can we show the video of her dad? I
My
had
dad
so
decided
much.
when you eat bakudan, it has to have sound effects.
Right.
So bakudan means rice bomb, yeah?
Yes.
And so he wanted to make a bomb.
So that's next year's challenge too. You heard that, Okuhara Foods? We're having a bakudan challenge. There it is. He's so cute. Your dad is so cute. But yes, I beat myself up because I'm like, ah. Definitely tastes better with the sound effect.
Right. So start thinking about your bakudan challenge and how you're going to record it when you eat it. I would say Zigu's the mozuku tempura with Okinawan sweet potato with the snow salt from Miyakojima. That was unexpected. You know, it was so crispy, and I've never had that anywhere in Hawaii. But the unexpected person was actually Chef Amin with the Voyage by Chef Amin food truck. It's a food truck that just started, and he's Persian, but he learned how to make andagi from the chef at Mugen restaurant in Waikiki.
The
By
other
the way,
Yamauchi.
they make a andagi there, and they put caviar on top of it, which I have not tried. I kind of want to. But the two andagi that Amin made that was amazing was a kaffir lime or makrut lime andagi that just had, it was so bright. And he just recently made a baklava andagi.
Ugh,
So
I
all
love
of the
baklava.
nuts and cardamom were in it, and it was absolutely amazing. And it was so popular that he's actually going to keep it on a rotation on his regular menu.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so he's on vacation, but comes back in October. And I just
And-
like this idea that we've got continuation, right? Continuity.
Right. And I would just have to say, tell everybody, always jump at the opportunity to either pre-order, to go in early and try something, because I'm one of those people that I don't like lines, but I guess I waited too long, so I missed out on the bakudan. I was too late, I think, the one night I went to Zigu, so don't miss your opportunity to try some of these awesome dishes, because you'll be sad like me.
Well, and I think it is just also understanding that, you know, they don't have huge staff, and this is like an extra endeavor that they're doing. So, you know, please be patient as
Right.
they work through this kind of thing.
Yeah. The specials are always hard. One time a year, you know, always difficult. It's challenging to learn something new, I'm sure, on the restaurant's end.
And I think like Okuhara, maybe they'll do something at Christmas. I think Aloha Tofu maybe is thinking about doing jimami tofu at the craft fair you mentioned in November,
Good.
the HOA craft fair. So I think the best thing is follow them on social media and just subscribe so you can see their updates. I'll try and update the Okinawan Festival pages, hijack it for food, right?
Right.
But I think, you know, the question now is, so we did 2 weeks where they were doing specials, where there's something completely new, or they gave us discounts and things like that. But the question now is, festival's over. Now what?
Now what?
And, you know, the first thing is like, well, would you be willing to try out their regular dishes? You know, Sakana Grill has a whole bunch of Okinawan dishes
Love
and
them.
killer fried chicken.
Yes. One of my favorites to take anywhere, to parties, you know. You take the double fried chicken. Whew.
Absolutely. And if you haven't tried Chokatsu's Mama's Champuru, which is like stir-fry vegetable with some canned corned beef and bacon, which I completely love, or even just continue to buy the soups, why not, right?
Yeah. I mean, especially with the holidays coming up, I think it's a good opportunity to, you know, continue supporting these places so that they know, you know, we see you, we want to support you. We were talking about it earlier, you know, Christmas time is coming up, the holidays, Taikai is in a few, next month? Yeah.
Right.
What
And
are you going to
so
bring
for
back
me
to those
at
people?
Taikai, I'm going to try and buy branded items from Aloha Tofu. Maybe like for Christmas stocking stuffers, Aloha Awamori's chili pepper awamori
Right.
that he's selling in small bottles now. And, you know, I think as a community, my club, can we be buying gift certificates as prizes? Could we, you know, like you said, Taikai, do we need to buy the Kona coffee and the chocolate covered magnets? Could we find things from these Okinawan businesses and find ways to support them?
Absolutely.
And, you know, I think that if you have a favorite restaurant, adopt them. You know, if you are a regular there, keep asking, are you doing okay? Do you need any help?
Right, right.
Find out when are their slow days. So Sunrise Restaurant's slow days are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So maybe make an effort to go there on those days. Can we do things like meetups at Sunrise on Monday for
Right.
soup?
I think Linda Kamihara just said she's at Sunrise right now. So thank you, Linda.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That's
how can
really
we better
cool.
support them, you know, when Feastival, is over?
And you know, the thing too is like, there was a person in Feastival who just went everywhere, but she lives in Mililani. And what she did is she took orders from all her extended family in Mililani and just did one massive order at Sunrise
Yeah.
of soups. And they had like 6 boxes that she was taking back to Mililani. It doesn't have to be just you buy one meal. It could be, I mean, it's more effort, but you could tell your family, or, you know, like my family did a family luncheon where we just ordered a whole bunch of soups and stuff from Ige's Halava
Right.
and went over and just ate it all together, right? And kind of put it all together. So to me, you know, this is about Yuimaru. This is
Yeah.
about communities supporting one another. And there is need right now. You do have restaurants that are struggling to stay open. Or their future is really uncertain because of landlords maybe jacking up the rent, or just
Just the high cost of everything.
high cost of
I
everything,
feel.
right? And you know, if we can talk briefly about Sunrise Restaurant. So Sunrise almost closed. I don't know if people are aware of that.
I love this story because it touched my heart. I cry every time I hear it. And so, yes, please.
You know, if you say that, people are going to be watching to see if you're actually crying.
I will. Okay, not yet, though.
But, you know, it was one of those things of always checking in. I was eating at Sunrise and, you know, was asking, are you guys doing okay? Because I noticed the restaurant was quite empty. It seemed kind of like they were not doing as well as they could,
Right.
but continually asking, right? And they thankfully told me that they got behind on rent. So December, January, and February were really slow.
Right.
They had unexpected repair costs to the fire suppression system, and that's why they got behind. And so the landlord had given them an ultimatum. You know, 15 days, you need to pay off like, I think 4 months of rent.
Wow.
So $13,300. And, you know, thankfully they said something.
Yeah.
Or they could have been like Liki Like, just closing. And, you know, the same thing happened with Palace Simon.
Right.
Because of the pandemic, people didn't think that Simon was takeout food. And so they had a plan to close. They had their schedule in place.
Right.
But thankfully, Mari Takeda from Frolic and Honolulu Magazine had called them for an interview and found out. And she rallied the troops. And, you know, she said lines were down the street for people wanting to save Palace Simon. And they're doing okay now.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is, like, these restaurateurs will not say anything.
Yeah.
They're not going to say, hey, you know, I need to do a GoFundMe, or hey, we need money. But
Yeah.
I think it's this thing of we need to have regulars shine a bat signal to say Palace Simon needs help, like Mari did. You know, Sunrise needs help, like I did. Because the community wants to support, and they will
Definitely.
support overwhelmingly, right? So I set up a GoFundMe, and within a day, we raised $15,000 to keep their
Crazy.
doors open. But understanding that financially they needed a safety net, I kept it open for, I think, another 10 days. And, you know, in the end, we raised $71,000 minus
Wow.
the not including the fees. And that was really amazing what the community could do. And we were getting a lot of donations from Okinawa, from people like Chokatsu guys kind of take care of the high school students from Okinawa, not the college students at UH and KCC from Okinawa, and a lot of their parents donated.
Yeah.
And because they remembered what they did. So I think the legacy of Okinawan-owned restaurants is pretty amazing, but I think that the current situation of our Okinawan-owned restaurants kind of lies in our hands,
Definitely.
where I hope we protect this legacy and treasure that we have. So whether it's, a place that has Okinawan dishes like utage, sunrise, masa and Joyce, sakana. The thing about it is that if we don't also order Okinawan food, we're making a clear signal to restaurants that it's not worth it to have it on the menu. Because if we're not regularly buying it, why should they have it on the menu?
Right.
Right?
That's kind of like Don Quixote when they bring in their Taste of Okinawan festival, right?
Well, they told me that, they used to have products year round, but it wasn't selling that well. And so they discontinued it. So now we only can get it during the Taste of Okinawa fair. So that's another thing. When they have their fair, we need to go there and buy. We need to be bugging them. Like, why can't you bring this in? Or
Trust
bring
me,
in more?
I did. I think I swear I bought like 10 of their jimami tofu containers, and I'm trying to make that stretch still yet. It's coming up on its expiration date, but I'm trying to make it stretch as long as I can.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
don't come at me.
I was like, well, it's just a suggested expiration
Right.
date.
Still good. It's in the fridge.
But to me, we continue the story, right? Where we as a community, how are we going to continue this tradition?
Yeah.
And,
absolutely.
like when these restaurants that sell lots of Okinawan dishes, if they close like Hide-chan did, I don't see new restaurants opening up, taking their place.
Yeah.
And saying, we have Okinawan dishes on our regular menu. Well, except for Zigu, right? There's that.
Few exceptions.
And so I think, we talked about Okinawan dishes, but, the list of Okinawan-owned restaurants, I think the reality is we kind of stay where we live.
Yeah.
So, if you look at the list and you see Kaniohe has,
A handful.
Masa
right?
and Joyce, they have quinoa, and I think KJ's fried chicken is Okinawan as well. Make an effort to go try there and tell them, hey, I'm Okinawan, I support you, or whatever. Or take a trek out to Kaniohe and
Make it a day trip. Who
make it a
knows?
day trip and do that.
And I kind of feel like that's why Feastival was born, right? You can go for these 2 weeks to try these foods in hopes that throughout the year you'll continue to return and support, these restaurants, no matter what they're doing, whether they're making andagi or hamburgers.
Right. And then, reward them when they're super creative and make the effort to do cool things like what Zigu is doing, right? And some of the Feastival stuff was like Pagoda Restaurant was offering a $5 breakfast, but for them, they wanted to let people know they're open. There were a lot of rumors going around that they closed because Soda Bowl took its place.
Right.
But now they're located in the ballroom area.
And they're still just as good. I was there the other day. They're awesome. Pagoda is awesome. And still open.
Isn't it funny? It's like Pagoda, rumor closed, that Okahara is Okuhara.
Right.
And it's all closed and that kind of thing.
But to your point, just making sure you check in on your favorite restaurants, support them every once in a while, let them know that you're here, and we want to see them thrive and continue to survive in our community.
And I think, a lot of regulars told me they had no idea Sunrise was in trouble. And it's not just going there and eating, but talking and asking and doing like check-ins, right? Like, how are you doing? And that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know what was really cool about the Sunrise story too is we had Chef Roy Yamaguchi. When he heard about it, he instructed his team to do something to help them raise the $15,000. When we raised it so fast, then his concern became about sustainability, where he went over to record, and so he can tell his, clientele or his team or his customers why we need to protect treasures like Sunrise. You have
Yeah.
Chris Iwamura from Rainbow Drive-In and Norman Nakasone, maybe guiding them on financial advice or
Nice.
other things like that. So it's a beautiful story of, community rallying to support a really important place. Because, to me, Utage, Sunrise, Sakana, they're gathering places for the community.
Definitely.
And
I mean,
it's-
Shinku goes to Sakuna Girl, I feel, almost every other week now.
That's funny. But, imagine if we didn't have them.
Right.
Even when you think about guests from Okinawa or our gatherings, it would be really, really sad if we didn't have these kinds of places anymore, right?
Yeah, it's almost like what are we most proud of? And when family and friends come to visit, you want to show them the best places to eat and what we're so proud of. And, this is where we come to hang out. And there's reasons why. It's because we love the atmosphere. We love the food. And we just love coming together in a place that almost feels like home.
And, I think a lot of things changed with the pandemic. And so I'm wondering if people will still do takeout and are not comfortable with dining in. But hopefully, when things are more normal,
Yeah.
we'll see things stabilize, right?
Right, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I feel we're starting to get back to in-person events. Okinawan Festival was in person, and it was great. It was nice to see everybody's face-to-face.
I heard
Some-
people went crazy over the pig feet soup at Okinawan Festival.
Right, I swear. I feel like it sold out within the first day. I couldn't even get my hands on it, and I was there from 8 o'clock in the morning. No.
So I see Linda was asking what to order from Sunrise. I always order the ikageso, Chokatsu's mama's champuru, and his dynamite, and yakisoba. And we usually just split soup. So I think the Okinawan miso soup cracks me up. Just imagine, how Japanese miso soup is like clear and elegant and minimal? Like Okinawan miso soup has the kitchen sink thrown in it. So every scrap that he has, like the fish head, the prawn head, just whatever scraps and pieces, it all gets thrown into this soup, which makes it really interesting.
Right. I'm sure. That's crazy. Val Schmidt is saying she recommends someone to order teruya's bento for a funeral service. So I think kind of going back to like the whole idea of, how we can support year round. I mean, I couldn't even get my hands on a teruya's bento during Feastival either. Talk about being late to the party every time.
Well, it's one of those things too. It's just so many people were trying to get it that they sold out like at 10:20.
Right. I think I tried to go during my lunch break. I got there at 10:30 and they're like, sorry, we have nothing left. And
But you know what was really cool is when I went to all of the festival places, I saw so many Okinawans wearing HOA shirts or festival shirts, so we could all identify, you're Okinawan.
Right.
Why are you here? But the thing is, like, people were so supportive. So when they sold out really early, they just ended up buying their regular items
Right.
to support, and there was no complaining or just walking away, which was really nice. But yeah, there were so many Okinawans at all the stops. There was a story. I went to Hank's Hot Dogs on the first day of his Spam on the
Oh, I
Gi
love
Pop,
this story too.
and there was this Caucasian, this white guy in front of me, first in line, and he was so excited. He's like, I came here for this andagi thing. And he said, I went to the festival. He was a tourist visiting from, I think, Oregon, Will. And he said, I'm going to go to that food truck afterwards and get that other andagi. So I saw him at my next stop, and he was just so excited about the whole thing. And he was military, stationed in Japan, and just loved all things Japanese. And he got super excited about the whole festival, and that just made my day.
And he didn't only just go to Hank's, right? Like he also went to
Voyage by Chef
Voyage.
Amin's truck to get more andagi.
Right. And it's kind of cool. During Festival, you kind of go around to different restaurants that you normally wouldn't go to or patronize, and you can try something on their menu, check it out, and then hopefully find a new favorite too.
And I had never heard of carrot shiri shiri before, because that's
Neither have
home
I.
cooking. And, so that was the first time I had it, that Chef Roy's recipe. So I'm wondering if I try to make it, it'll taste the same.
I know if I tried to make it, it definitely would not taste the same. Can't cook to save my life. This is why I eat out all the time, everybody.
But even when Square Barrels made hirayachi, the crepes,
Right.
I had never really heard of that before either. And so it's kind of nice to be introduced to different types of Okinawan food, not just champuru and other things.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, as a non-Okinawan myself, I'm full Japanese, Okinawan at heart. It's always fun to discover new cuisine, right? I mean, I'm used to the normal or the usuals like champuru and rafute, but shiri shiri, I've never heard of it before, and it's always fun to try.
So I saw that Chris Imura said you should make them pig feet soup.
Ooh, yeah, right. Yeah, right. I can barely make miso soup, okay, Chris? Like, let's just stop there.
Maybe start with carrot shiri shiri.
Right.
for them.
Grated carrots first.
So Roy showed me his carrot shiri shiri grater, and he told me it cost $50 when he
Oh.
bought it in Tokyo. So I'm wondering if it's that expensive in Okinawa as well.
So maybe when you go to Taikai, you'll have to go check the Hiwadori, see if you can find the special carrot grater. I mean, I feel like that's like Aloha tables, in Waikiki too. They have their special oni daikon
Oh,
grater.
yeah,
We
yeah.
went, and we got to try it.
I have one,
Oh,
If you ever want to borrow it, they
Okay.
gave me one from Osaka
I'll hold you to that.
after you make the pig feet soup.
Yeah. Let me find some recipes that require daikon, grated daikon first.
No, maybe that'll be your version of pig feet soup. It'll
Oh,
have
maybe.
the oni daikon.
Good idea.
I like that.
I'll write it down in my recipe book. Okay, also speaking of other festival specials, what else was on their menu, or how many restaurants were participating and businesses?
19 participated in festival specials. So what continues is Zigu's festival menu, hopefully on their regular menu. Chef Amin is making his Persian-inspired andagi, and he's been having way too much fun with pork belly. So he made like miso pork belly musubi, which was amazing.
Cool.
Or even his miso pork belly plate. I think that we said Aloha Tofu might make more jimami tofu for
Fingers
the
crossed.
craft fair. Yeah. And I think that maybe we should ask if any of them will continue or do random pop-ups on specials
Yeah.
for a later time, yeah?
I mean, aside from the usuals, Aloha Andagi always has their pop-ups at Marukai and all over. Teruya always has andagi.
And
Yeah.
Aloha Andagi periodically will make anda dogs. So
I did not know that.
Yeah, their underdog is really good.
Ooh.
And so they're on Instagram, so they announce when they're gonna do the underdog.
Right. Oh, good. Always exciting. Always happy to support. Yeah, incredible.
I feel like we should make an Okinawan eating club. Yeah, that periodically we'll just say, okay, this month is Sunrise Monday, and people just show up, right?
That's a good idea.
And we just eat and drink and stuff like that.
Yeah, I like that idea. Talk about whatever is going on in Okinawa. Talk culture, talk food. No better way to unify people than through food, right? Unity
Right.
through food.
Food and drink.
Right. Right. Can't forget that part.
Yeah, and Aloha Awamori wasn't listed formally as one of them, but he was kind of weaved into a lot of the specials. And I gotta say, his chili pepper awamori is a great gift to give to people. And he does a Kona coffee infused awamori that is very smooth and easy to drink.
Yeah, we had that at Kari and it was good.
Right? I was like, I don't like coffee, but I can drink that.
Right. Yeah. Keep me sustained. It's like a what is it called? Espresso martini almost.
Hey, Zigu does a bloody mariko named after the assistant manager. That one has the chili pepper awamori in it.
Oh.
So when you drink it, it has a bite.
A little bit of kick. Oh, cool. That's really cool.
I think it's kind of fun, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, yeah, just continuing to show our support for Okinawan businesses, Okinawan restaurants. I love all these ideas. Gian Oshiro says, good idea, I'm in. Linda Kamihara says, sprinkle the chili pepper awamori on poke. That's a new one.
Oh, interesting.
All creative ideas. I mean, maybe your food club can have ideas on what to do with different elements of cooking as well.
Because maybe we should cook a little bit at home, yeah.
Right. Maybe not me. Maybe somebody,
Well,
everybody
I
else.
tell people, but we have to support local restaurants. And if we cook too much at home, how do we support the restaurant?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my excuse.
Absolutely. Oh, well, fun.
But I
it's-
think what would be really cool too is if people have ideas about Okinawan dishes that could be included maybe by some restaurant. You know, are there other dishes like carrot shiri shiri or hirayachi or other lesser known things, you know, that they can suggest to these restaurants
right.
and they can do research and kind of find it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Always finding ways, to stay involved, stay connected, be part of the community. And I mean, with that being said, for on a restaurant's notes, how can they stay connected to our community as well?
Yeah. I think so. We are going to do another festival next year. I think it's worth it. I think it's fun. But definitely we should all follow them on Instagram, Facebook, or in person
Yeah,
and check in with them frequently.
right.
And, you know, the Okinawan Festival Facebook and Instagram, I usually hijack it for festival as well.
That's okay. I'm sure people don't mind seeing pictures of food. I mean, look at your background. It looks so delicious. Thank you, Reed. No.
Yeah, this is pig's feet soup from Sunrise Restaurant taken by food photographer Reed Shimabukuro.
Right.
I had to drop that pig foot into the soup like 30 times for him to get this shot.
The life of a content creator. We won't go too much into that, but I'm sure it's very difficult. So Okinawan Festival is looking to return next year. Great.
It's a good partnership with Okinawan Festival because it kind of continues the excitement of having the weekend festival where we can just be eating Okinawan food for the
Right.
next 2 weeks.
Absolutely. Keep that Okinawan Festival, Uchinanchu Aloha spirit going year round. I mean, even with that being said, as part of Shinka, we put on a kari festival this past year, which was kind of like a food festival in itself. And we had about 15 vendors, different local businesses come out, do a tasting and sampling, and so we're hoping to do something like that next year. It happened right here at Hawaii Okinawan Center, and kind of like festival, it was a nice celebration of food, local businesses, the Uchinanchu community, really just coming together and rallying to support one another. So we had businesses that were Okinawan, some that offered Okinawan dishes and specialties, but also ones that were not Okinawan that just wanted to try and sample with something new. So, this year in itself, we had businesses like Tiny Pyramid. They offered Okinawan sweet potato tart, which was really cool. We had a catered experience. They did a rafute bao and a jushi. Prior to kari, I had never tried jushi before, and I was like, what do you mean? Just like a rice porridge, but it was so delicious. And had I not gone to kari or had I not discovered festival, I'm pretty sure it'd be like carrot shiri shiri. I'd never know about it because it's one of those things that are not as common as champuru and rafute and everything like that.
So John asked, can people suggest restaurants for 2023? The way festival works is there's no charge for the restaurants because this is about supporting them. But the thing is that they have the honest to come up with something that will draw people to their restaurant. And they also have to work with me to communicate so that we can get the information out, in a timely manner to people, which is actually harder than it sounds, apparently, for some restaurants. So, you can suggest them, but restaurants have to be willing to maybe do some research, think through and come up with something that they think would work and draw people into them. Then they have to work with me closely on marketing, to be able to explain what is the dish, what are the rules and instructions for ordering it. I mean, I leave it up to the restaurant to decide, how long they want the special, what they're going to do, how they operate it. So when restaurants are not cooperative and don't provide any of that information, I can't help them.
Right.
So it's kind of like that give and take.
Let us help you, right?
Right. And surprisingly, some places say they need help, but they don't, schedule photo shoots. They don't give information. So those I kind of like, I can't do much to help them, right?
Help us help you. So if you know an Okinawan restaurant, Okinawan business owner, do they offer anything Okinawan? Reach out to Sherry, and we want to help you as much as possible. And I think you, as well on your website, people can find other Okinawan dishes as well. I see Iris in the chat saying, where can we find nantu and mochi? So
actually, Izu's Mochi, who pops up at the Saturday Kaka'ako Market, just posted on her Instagram that she's going to have mochi this week. So if you message her, you can put in a pre-order, and she makes authentic mochi. So this is another one where she doesn't always make it, so take advantage of it and move on it, and don't wait and complain next week that you missed it.
You'll be like me, missing out on everything. Good. Well, thank you so much, Sherry. It's been fun talking about food. I mean, I know that you have a lot of photos, so maybe we can go through some of them. You mentioned
It's
earlier.
kind of cruel, isn't it? We'll show them the photos of all the feastable foods that people might not be able to eat.
Well, I don't know if you can hear my stomach grumbling over here, but yeah, I mean, why not? We talked about how much we miss seeing people in person. Why not show some of these people's faces?
So this is Chef Amin from the Voyage by Chef Amin food truck. He is the one that is making Persian-inspired andagi, like baklava andagi and kaffir lime andagi, and his take on miso pork belly.
Cool. Oh, it's going to come back, and the next photo will be right. 3 seconds.
So this is Roy's Hawaii Kai. So that's the carrot shiri shiri with the 24-hour sous vide crispy pork belly. And so, again, this is a dish that Roy's mother used to make for him when he was a child. So this was his connection to his childhood. I'm kind of curious because he said his mom also made a string bean shiri shiri. And I kind of want to taste that too, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, I tried this past Sunday, and it was so delicious. I mean, I'm pretty sure I went into a food coma after Sunday, and I didn't wake up until noon yesterday. Don't tell my boss. Just kidding.
So this is Hank Arania from Hank's Hot Dogs. So this is his Spam andagi pop. So what he does is it's a thick slice of Spam that he sears on both sides, puts it on a stick, dips it in andagi batter, fries it, serves it with a honey mustard mayo dip that kind of cuts through the heaviness, the fattiness of the Spam.
I mean, definitely a different take. Like, you're usually used to underdog, this is kind of like a little Hawaii flair to it.
What's interesting is he originally wanted to try and make a Goya champuru hot dog.
Ooh.
Like use Goya relish and have eggs, but it didn't, he couldn't quite make it work, but kind of intriguing, idea. So this is Paul Uehara from Aloha Tofu eating Okuhara Bakudan I took to him. So, Aloha Tofu has a lot of stuff at their factory. So, you can buy udofu, and it's like, I think the midway between soy milk and firm tofu. And he only sells the udofu at his factory. Like you learned, half scoop is a kind of big container.
It is huge. Real fast. My udofu story. I pre-ordered during Okinawan Festival, and the kind woman on the phone asked me, okay, how many scoops would you like? You know, there's the quarter scoop and the half scoop, and I don't know what I was thinking. I guess miscommunication. I was thinking half scoop as in half an ice cream scoop, and I said, oh, okay, that's easy. I can eat a half scoop for breakfast after I pick it up, and then the next day it'll last me at least a few days. Not knowing that a half scoop means this huge, like half, okay, it's not a half-gallon bucket, but it's a huge bucket. So I ordered 2 half scoops, and I went to Aloha Tofu, and I came to pick up my yu tofu, and I think my jaw dropped. Luckily, okay, I was wearing a mask, but my jaw dropped. I swear. I was like, what do you mean I have to carry this huge, almost like a banker's box out of the factory? It's huge, and it's
so this is what I
so
do
reasonable.
for family gatherings, because I don't like to cook, is I'll take my slow cooker container over to Aloha Tofu the day before, and he fills it with the yu tofu and the liquid. So when I take it to the party, we plug in the slow cooker to heat it up, and then I just have to make, condiments, things to sprinkle on, and I use their ohana soy sauce, which is a dashi. I think it's a dashi-based shoyu that's designed to pair with tofu. And it's such a good party dish, and you don't have to do a lot of work.
Oh, okay.
You just have to maybe cut up green onions or, do some other stuff, and it looks really impressive, like you worked really hard.
Okay, noted for next time. How to get people to think that I can actually cook.
Right.
Just pick up a yu tofu, take it to the next family party.
But the cool thing I learned from Chef Alan Tsuchiyama from KCC's Culinary is that, when you grate ginger,
Right.
You put it in a Ziploc bag and make it really thin and freeze it flat so that you can just break off a corner.
Okay.
So, like, let's say you're eating yu tofu in the morning, and you put it in the bowl, break off some ginger, mix it in with the ohana soy sauce, pour it on top. Your meal is ready, like, in less than a minute.
Yeah, instant breakfast right there. See, that's what I thought with a half a scoop. But no, I got 2 huge tubs. But, on that note, Yuimaru, sharing with our community. I shared with my mom. I shared with my aunties. Maybe like 5 or 6 aunties. And I still have half the container left.
You're supposed to eat it in 7 days,
Oh,
right?
yeah, I did. But I'm just saying, it was just so much that I still had half the tofu container to myself, and that's a lot of
refreshing,
tofu.
right?
Yes, very refreshing, but lots of tofu. I think I ate tofu for a whole week.
So I don't know if you have a picture of, so Okuhara, what's cool about them is that I didn't realize how much stuff they sell. They sell edamame, they sell Dungeness crab,
What? I
miso
had no
butterfish
idea.
that's frozen. But what's cool about their factory is if you order on Monday, you can pre-order their gobo tempura fish cake and their
Okay.
vegetable tempura
One
fish
of my
cake.
favorites.
And they fry it up on Tuesday. So
Wow.
you can pick it up on Tuesday or Wednesday, and if you go early, it's still hot. But you get this huge bag for, I forget, it was a very reasonable amount.
Wow.
And I think I counted one, it was like 78 pieces. So that's when I bag it up and deliver it to all my aunties and my mom.
Okay, so you do your huge gobo tempura run, and then you do your half scoop yu tofu run, and you just say, "Here, everybody, I brought you dinner, and I made it all myself."
Right. But you're like Santa Claus,
Right.
dropping off all different kinds of food.
Yeah, and I think Okuhara's special last year for Feastival was the big bag of gobo tempura.
Right, they discounted it.
Yeah, and it
My
was
mom
massive.
will kill me for saying this, but she loves their imitation crab. I think they were like none in the stores for months, and it was like she was going through withdrawal, like
Right.
she was asking around, like went to every single store and asking me, what do you have in your freezer? I want your yeah. So their imitation crab is approved by my Mama Shiro.
Okay, Mama Shiro says so. Imitation crab is
Like crack.
stamp of approval.
That's a picture of Chef Amin's baklava andagi batter. So what's cool about him is he fries it to order. So you are guaranteed hot and fresh and crispy andagi.
Nice. Nothing I can't stand. My biggest pet peeve, mushi andagi. But you know what? Pop those suckers in the air fryer if you have one, and I feel like it's just good as new. But fresh is always best.
And if you go to Aloha Andagi when they pop up on the weekends at Marukai parking lot, you can actually ask them, how long is this batch going to take? go shop a little bit, time it so you can get it right out of the fryer.
Right.
That's the
And
best,
don't close
yeah.
the bag because then it's going to get all mushy. Leave it open.
So
Eat
this
it
is
in the
random,
car.
but they said like ideally andagi should look like a flower, like a tulip.
Really?
But, Ellen Higa told me that if there's a smile, like a smile in the cracks of the andagi, that means the person who was making it was really happy.
Oh.
So you should be looking for
Okay.
smiles in
Lots
your
of smiles,
andagi.
lots of flowers. Got it. Maybe I have to bring them tofu and gobo tempura and they'll be extra happy.
So that's Junko Bise from Aloha Andagi.
Is there a smile on those? No.
Hard to tell, right?
Hard to tell, but I'm sure there's a smile behind that mask.
I really like her andagi. Her andagi is really crispy, and I don't know if dense but fluffy makes sense when you describe the center part.
Right.
But her andagi is dense but fluffy.
Dense but fluffy. Yep, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And I think like what's nice is she'll do a flavor of every month. So like strawberry,
Yeah.
Okinawan sweet potato, and you see like little chunks of the sweet potato. And you know who else makes andagi is utage on Fridays.
Ooh, yeah.
And so they rotate every week between regular and Okinawan sweet potato. I think their andagi is the closest to sata andagi you'll find in Okinawa.
Okay.
There's something about how they make it that cleaves closer to how Okinawa makes it. And once they made gingerbread andagi around the
Ooh.
holidays, and that was amazing.
That does sound amazing. That's making me really hungry right now,
Way better
actually.
than pumpkin spice andagi.
Right.
Gingerbread andagi kicked ass. And so that's Chef Keaka Lee from Kapahale. So you can see his andagi in clarified butter has a really different texture.
Right.
So this one had a very nutty brown butter kind of flavor that was really amazing. So like I said, you can make it a la mode. You could put chocolate. I mixed it with some savory stuff,
Ooh.
trying like seafood or other things.
Right.
And it was really cute in his to-go box. It has instructions on how to reheat it in an air fryer or
cool.
the oven.
It's that little touches, right? They know. If you're not going to eat it right away, this is how you reheat it.
When I went in the first day to try it, this white lady had like 3 huge boxes, cake-size boxes,
Wow.
that was all andagi.
Whoa.
Because she just said, "Oh, this sounds so interesting. I had to buy for everyone."
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See? Community supporting community. You take
Isn't
to
that
everybody.
amazing?
Yeah. That sounds delicious. Clarified butter.
But by the way, so Kapahale has really interesting brunch, lunch, and dinner, and all of his menus are completely different
It changes, right? Quite
Right.
frequently.
and insanely creative chef.
Yeah.
I'm biased because Keaka and Amin both graduated from KCC's culinary program.
Oh, okay. There's
I'll
the
admit,
connection.
I'm a bit biased.
But that's okay. We still support them. We love them.
And Teruya's offers andagi. I think they do regular and cinnamon sugar, as well as like Okinawan sweet potato mochi. But their bentos are really interesting. So I don't know if you ever saw their vegetarian bento. It's almost like this jewel box with all these different compartments that have all these different vegetarian options
That's
that you
awesome.
can choose from. But their hand rolls are really good.
Right.
I love the shrimp tempura roll or
Yeah.
the chicken karaage roll.
I think the day that I missed out on, the many days that I missed out on their bentos, that's what I opted for was their hand rolls.
So his dad is the karate sensei,
Oh, okay.
and his dad owns also Ala Hawaii Kitchen that supplies bentos, I think, to the supermarkets. And they're related to everyone,
Wow.
like Utage and Masa and Joyce. And so I'm finding everyone's connected to each other, yeah?
Yep. Family of chefs. Oh, fun.
So I think we ran through all the pictures. Oh,
Ooh.
Beer Lab. So Beer Lab has 2 Okinawan owners. And what's really interesting is one of them, I want to say Kevin, his grandfather was the original owner of Kapiolani Coffee Shop,
Oh, wow.
the one that made oxtail soup super famous.
Yeah.
And so another kind of second generation kind of going into place, right?
Yeah. Wow. And Beer Lab made 2 exclusive Okinawan themed beers. You know, last year they made their It's Uchina time. And this year for Kari, they made a Kari beer. And I don't know if anybody has seen it, but it was a purple sweet potato
How was it?
beer. It was delicious. I'm not a big beer drinker, but
Was it purple in color?
yes, bright
Ooh,
purple.
that
I'll
must
have
have
to
been really
find
pretty.
pictures. But if you go to like Shinka's Instagram, if you go to Beer Lab's Instagram, they have pictures of it. It was a very vibrant purple beer. And yeah, I'm not a big beer drinker, but I think I don't remember, but I drank about 3 glasses to myself.
So the thing about Beer Lab is they do small batches and they
Right.
usually don't repeat.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
they're another one that you have to take advantage of the moment.
Yep.
But
yep.
you know, talking about oxtail soup, so this is a question I have for people, which is that oxtail soup is a Chinese recipe because it's definitely not Okinawan because they didn't have oxes in Okinawa. But because of Mr. Teruya over at Kapiolani Coffee Shop, he made oxtail really popular. And, you know, it was synonymous with his restaurant. And so I'm trying to figure out the origin of it. So I don't know if Kapiolani Coffee Shop had all the Chinese spices, you know, because when the recipe went to Auntie Kyo at Sunrise Restaurant and Jocelyn over at Utage, they did not include all the Chinese spices. They added in, I think, more ginger and way more vegetables. So you know how oxtail soup is such an iconic Hawaii dish,
Right.
but it's so influenced by the Okinawan restaurants. So I think it's interesting to look at, you know, the origin of like, is it more Chinese recipe or is it the Okinawan influence recipe? So I'm trying to research that to find it and understand. But, you know, I've never eaten at the old school restaurant. So if people have memories of it, I would appreciate
Yeah.
maybe their mana'o and thoughts on it.
Right. I mean, just speculating, I'm sure it has to do with like the mix of cultures and everybody kind of coming together. And,
But isn't it funny that it was an Okinawan-owned restaurant that made it so popular
right.
that you see people arguing so much about who has the best oxtail soup? And I find that interesting, you
Yeah,
know, that
definitely.
we've got that influence of the Okinawan restaurant happening.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Fun. Yeah, who knows? Maybe we can fight over next time who has the best andagi. That'll be a tough one.
That's really hard because it's so subjective, I think, to individual taste.
Right.
And,
Definitely.
you know, I know in Okinawa people fight quite vigorously about who has the best sokisoba. You know, like what kind of base to the broth is so important. And I find it fascinating listening to the arguments.
Yeah.
I think it might get ugly if we start arguing over I think we should instead discuss what makes the best andagi,
That's a good idea too.
right? Because there should be standards or
It depends on how far your arm goes in to mix the batter. I think that's one.
okay, that came out of left field.
Whoever can stick their arm in the furthest and mix the batter the most.
I honestly don't know if people will agree with you on that one. I was thinking the texture, the crunch, yeah.
I think one thing that always surprises me, though, that not a lot of people get to see is the behind the scenes, especially during Okinawan Festival, how much work really goes into putting on, you know, the different booths. And luckily this year, I got to kind of take a look at where they were frying and making the andagi. And everyone has different techniques, like how you say, Donna from Wahiwa's club, you know, she was just going at it. She used one hand and had the scooper in one hand and was like a machine. And so I think even technique.
You gotta watch the Ige's folks drop andagi, because they will grab a huge scoop of dough, and as they're pushing it, a whole wad is coming out of the bottom.
Oh, I'm sure.
And so they flip their wrists to put the dough back, and they just keep going. So in one scoop, they can make like 20.
Right.
And that's only because of long years of practice, right?
Right.
But I think one thing I want to comment about the food at the Okinawan Festival that I really respect is that a lot of festivals you see now bring in restaurants who, you know, like prepare the food themselves. I think what makes Okinawan Festival unique is that a lot of the food is prepared by volunteers
Right.
to a degree that is astonishing. It's instead of just buying, everything all pre-made or putting it together, the volunteers at the Okinawan Festival are cooking, assembling, and putting things together.
Yeah.
And I can't think of many festivals that still do that. Maybe like Bon dances at the Honganji does it on a smaller scale. But imagine it at Okinawan Festival scale, right?
You're feeding, I don't know, this is just a ballpark number, but I feels like almost 1 million people walk through the convention center doors. But really, yeah, you're exactly right. There's no other festival like it. Completely volunteer run, and the amount of, I guess, love that really goes into making everything it's insane. It's incredible. There's people coming so early in the morning, just to prep the food so that it's ready to sell by 8-9 o'clock.
Actually, they're setting up before.
Right.
Like
Days
before, right? And to me, that's why I really respect
Right.
what's done at the Okinawan Festival. Because like you said, people don't see what's happening behind the scenes, but the product that you get is this labor of love.
Yeah.
Where we could take shortcuts, we could just, make life easier for everyone, but we don't.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
what that says about the Okinawans, but but I really respect that we don't take that shortcut. That, we continue to provide these festival favorite foods. Even though it means like a nightmare of logistics for the volunteers.
Shout out Chris Iwamura. Thank you for everything you do. We love you, Chris.
So Chris Imamura was kind of coordinating the food logistics, at the Okinawan Festival.
Yeah. And it's funny how we always kind of come back to this recurring theme of community and being able to support one another. And I think, I think that's the perfect note to kind of end on, is that, just because festival is over doesn't mean that the support that we all have for our community and the Uchinanchu community here has to end. It really takes a village to support one another, to support our community, and really just to support each other. And for that, I think I speak on behalf of HOA when I say, we're so thankful. Thank you to everybody that has come out to support Okinawan Festival, Okinawan Festival, Aki Matsuri, and even supporting like the local businesses and business owners here in Hawaii. Sherry, do you have anything else you want to close on before we do all the final remarks?
I gotta say, just eat. Let's eat and keep eating.
Right.
Because that's such a great way that we can support restaurants. Just eat.
Yeah. Keep eating. Got it. Noted. I can do that. If there's any way I can support my community, it's by eating. You got it. With that being said, thank you all so much for joining us and being here tonight. It really means a lot. We hope you're just as hungry for supporting other local Okinawan-owned businesses, Okinawan foods. With that being said, a few more reminders to touch on. Winter Craft Fair is coming up November 26th and 27th. We hope you can join us. If you'd like to be a vendor, please be sure to apply at hua.org. And if not, we'd love and be more than happy to see you there. I'm sure last I heard they might be selling andagi. So if you can't get your fix, you can always get your fix at Winter Craft Fair. And as always, please like, subscribe to our channel here at YouTube. Follow us on Facebook, on Instagram. A recurring theme has been, stay connected with our businesses, but also stay connected with us here at HOA. Thank you so much for being here. Good night, everyone.
We can do Shisa pose.
Yeah, she's a pose. And don't forget to join us for Taikai, October 28th to November 28th. Excuse me. But stay connected. She's a pose. Andagi. Uchinat.